I haven't always been like this. First of all, I've been a high achiever my whole life. I work hard and I get results, and I never really thought about it, honestly. And then one day I found myself in a curious situation. I'd had two babies pretty close together. They were quite young, and I just felt like I couldn't do anything right. Just nothing was working. I had no confidence, and I just started to spiral down and down and down. I don't know if you can relate to this, but there was a point where I just had an insight. I wasn't doing this work. I mean, at this point, I was still corporate or quasi-corporate. Maybe I was probably an entrepreneur by this point, but I was still trying to figure everything out. So there I was, kind of crappy at motherhood, really, and it was not a fun place to be. And then I had this insight, and I thought, in my mind, being a good mother is impossible. It's just impossible. I can't figure this out. But what if I'm making that up? What if that's just arbitrary? What else is impossible? You have this circle where everything in it is impossible. What else is in that circle? I don't know what's in your circle. And I thought, what if I take something else in that circle? Not the one I'm super attached to, because I can't see the forest for the trees here. But what if I take something in that impossible circle that I'm not really attached to and do it? What would happen? I thought, what an interesting idea. I'm going to try that, because if I can take the I am out of impossible and blow the doors open on something else, maybe I could blow the doors open on the whole thing and maybe change everything. So I took running a marathon, just so you know. I'm not really a marathon runner. And I thought, if I can run a marathon, then that'll blow the doors open on impossible, and then maybe everything else will be, new. So that's what I decided to do. And my husband was like, please don't run a marathon, because I'm not really a runner. I'm an athlete for sure, but not a marathon runner. Very slow, very, very slow. But that's what I decided to do. And so I embarked on this journey, and I got the books, and I went and joined a club, and turned out that even the slowest group in the club was too fast for me, and that was a bit disheartening. So I found a running partner. I used to live on an island, and I found this amazing running partner, and I said to her, look, I'm the slowest runner on earth. And she's like, I'm pretty slow. And so we became instant running partners. And I trained, and now the thing you should know, it's the reason why that running a marathon was in my impossible category is because every time I would run more than say 5K, my knees would swell, my hips would hurt. And so one of my friends gave me some advice. She's like, just ice down every time. So every time I went for a run, when I was finished, I would sit in a bathtub full of ice cubes and cold water for 20 to 30 minutes, every single time. That's called doing what it takes, by the way. And so I trained, and Now, I picked a marathon for my one and only marathon. I picked San Francisco as the venue, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best choice. It's pretty hilly, but whatever, I picked it. So there I am in San Francisco, it's race day. I am geared up, ready to go. I got all my split times and all my stuff on. And so race starts, and running, and my husband, he's there. And in fact, my friend, the ice bath advice-giving friend, was with my kids, and her kids were little and mine were little. I think my kids were 3 and 18 months, and her kids were 4 and 3 or something. So she had all these little people, and they were taking care. And Andrew was biking all over San Francisco and supporting me, and it was great. And I was ahead of schedule. My ego was really getting involved. So Andrew leaves me at around mile 15, maybe 16, and I am in good shape. I actually uttered the prophetic, terrible words, I'm kicking this race's ass, which I never should have said. So anyways, he leaves me, he said, I'll see you at mile 24 or whatever, because, that's our next agreed meeting point. I got to go find the kids, because they're with our friends, and maybe I should be with them. So he departs, and I'm running up mile 17 hill, 16, 17, I guess started at 16, ended at 17, and the wheels fall off the bus. In marathon they call hitting the wall. By the time I got to the top of that hill, I literally couldn't move. Every muscle in my body was seized. I was a disaster. For some reason, Andrew was there. I have no idea to this day why, because he was supposed to meet me at mile 24, but I guess he just biked around the top of the hill. I don't know. He was there. And I was a disaster. And he had just left someone who was saying, I'm kicking this race's ass. So he was shocked. And I couldn't move. And I was crying, and it was terrible. And he didn't say anything, which is unusual because, men like to fix things. But he didn't say anything. And he just started, he was behind me. And I was wearing this race shirt. And on it, I had to raise money because this was a charity run. And in order to enter the run, you had to raise money for charity. And so my ingenious way for raising $5,000 was to tell people if they gave me $100, I'd put their name on the back of my shirt. So I had 50 some odd names on the back of my shirt of just people who'd given me $100. So he's just reading these random names. He's like, who's that? Oh, it's somebody who used to work with at Procter & Gamble. And who's that? Oh, it's just a friend of mine that I went to university with. And who's that? Oh, just a person that used to work for me. And really obscure people who I realized in that moment I hadn't seen in a really long time. And in fact, one email from me about what I was doing it, why I was doing it, and the raising of the money. And they gave me $100. And it was really interesting in that moment, like, so they all think I can do this. And, my mom had called me because she once ran a marathon. She gave me some starting line advice. And my dad had called me. And here was my husband literally biking all over San Francisco. And my good friends taking care of 4 toddlers, basically. These people all thought I could do it. And then it hit me. Only one person doesn't think I can do it. And that's me. Well, that's not working for me. This is ridiculous. I just spent 4 to 6 months of my life training for this, pulling myself away from my family, sitting in ice baths every time I ran. So this belief that I couldn't do it was absolutely ridiculous. But clearly it was sitting right there. And I just thought, well, that's not working for me. And I changed my mind. Now, I wasn't thinking self-help or personal development. I just did it. I just did it because it wasn't working for me. I literally just cast it off. Because I really got like I was doing it. No one was doing it to me. I was the cause. And so because I was the cause, I could change it. And I did. The minute I did that, everything changed. My muscles unseized. I'm not making this up. They unseized. And I stopped crying. And I started moving. And I turned to my husband. I said, I'm going to finish the race. There's 9 miles left. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm going to need a little, fuel. And then randomly out of the audience of the people, kind of cheering on the runners, this woman just randomly comes over and goes, do you need a gel? Okay. Right? And so I just started running. And Andrew's like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm totally fine. Like and every time, and I took off all my split times, and I had watches and pacemakers and all kinds of crap. I just took it all off. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I don't care what the time is. It's not about the time. I'm just going to finish the race. I know I'm going to finish the race. So I'd start running. And I'm like, I'm a pretty slow runner, and I'm running. And every time I tried to go faster than what I was really capable of, my body would sort of get into the seize mode. I'd be like, no, slow down. And I just running along. So I had 9 miles to go. That's a long time in a marathon. So Andrew left, and he went to go meet our friends who were with the kids at mile 24, 25. So I come around mile 24, 25. I see them. They're all going crazy. They got their signs, and I'm still plodding along, right? Hoping I'm going to finish this marathon. And the motivational speaker the night before, he said, there's a time in a marathon when you are 100% convinced you're going to finish. You have enough fuel in the reserves, and you have enough, just gas in the tank. So for me, that happened about 800 meters from the finish line. So metric marathon is 42,200 meters, 42.2K. So 800 meters is pretty damn near close to the end. 26 miles, it's about a half a mile from the finish line is when I knew I had enough to finish. So I break into my grade 9 track and field athlete training, and I sprint across this finish line like I'm winning the Olympic marathon. I swear to God. The form was perfect. If you could see the video, you would be so impressed. And you would think I had won the marathon if it were not for the time above my head that said 6 hours and 9 minutes. right? But I finished it. They wrapped me in one of those things. Because, when people are finishing marathons at 6 hours and 9 minutes, they're not in good shape. So there's like a lot of emergency crews there, but I was perfectly fine. So they wrapped me in the silver thing, which I then used as like an accessory, but I was perfectly fine. And, hugged my kids and my friends and my husband, and then they took the kids to their place, and I went back to the hotel that I had booked and took an ice bath. Had my 30-minute ice bath, got up, got dressed, went to their place, not sore, not injured, flew home the next day, done. And impossible changed forever, right? Because when you take the I am out of impossible, everything becomes possible. That literally changed my life.